Hey guys, I'm Fidel1258 here. Today I want to share with you a clip from a recent live event. This is where Blaze and myself, that's a fellow time and attention guildmate, we're going to talk about SPS, the potential and the opportunity for insane gains. And then we're going to talk about one of the concerns for the following bear market. After the next bull market, there will be a bear. And we want to talk about one of the considerations out of the SPS DEC flywheel that we need to be cognizant of. So I hope you'll stick around for this one. And thanks a lot, Blaze, for coming to hang out. Before we get into that, though, I want to say shout out to SplinterCoach.com. For $5 a month, you can track your personalized battle history. And that data is fun to look at, but it also helps you get better at this game. Something that I keep looking at is different win rates. What cards am I winning with a lot? Not just that I get to play a lot. Those are awesome too, but often the niche cards that might be the best buys are the ones that win a lot when they fit, and yet they might be slept on because they aren't played every single match. Goblin Psychic is a modern card. When it plays, it wins, man. 608 win percentage, 90 and 58, 90 wins and 58 losses. That's a huge, first of all, amount of plays. Of all my cards, it's the 74th best win rate, but this is a very high win rate. And it's a very reasonably priced card for what it is. And there are other amazing cards like that too that you can kind of just find with this device. Elemental Phoenix, if you're playing in the Wild League, wins 90 and 60. That's a crazy win rate. And it plays a lot, like a lot. And so certain cards you play way more than others, and when those are disproportionate winners, you need to be aware of those aces. This tool will track that data for you, and then you can become cognizant of that. Maybe you rent these cards and then you start to see how successful they are. That with this tool you can then make those decisions. Wow, I really need to buy Goblin Psychic. I really need to buy Elemental Phoenix. It's too good and it wins too often. And so in that way it can help you make you better. So check out SplinterCoach.com if that sounds interesting. Let's get into the video. Thanks, guys. Dude, how you doing?
Oh, doing awesome. How you doing, man?
I think you've been listening, and I am excited. Like, I've not been more excited. I don't know if I've ever been more excited for cryptocurrency than I am right now because of what Splinterlands is doing.
Yeah, no, I'm really quick. I mean, just off your conference, XRP, Bitcoin, Litecoin, all those in the top 100. They're great and all, and I think they'll do very well. But it's stuff like SPS, right? Mm-hmm. And these low cap coins that have the potential to create wealth for someone who, you know, doesn't come from wealth, right?
Yeah.
A couple thousand can turn into a lot. A couple hundred can turn into a lot for them in that part of the world. That's what excites me a lot too, is, you know, these kids that have built their deck early and they're playing and they're earning X amount of SPS per day and they're just stacking away. That's how you do it. It's a long-term investment. The Splinterlands isn't a pump and dump. Mm-hmm. I really see this as a long-term play. Mm-hmm. And you know, that's why last call I think I encouraged you to hang on to your DC or your SPS. It wasn't financial advice, but I mean that's what I would do.
Yeah.
And there's real no point on selling it, right? Because of the infrastructure of the game. If this pans out and their partnerships and other games come on, all you need is one of those games to start, you know, capturing the masses. Splinterlands, the game that you and I play, it doesn't even need a ton of people. I mean, a couple, you know, 100,000 active players and, you know, another 100,000 here and there. 200,000 would be more than enough. Mm-hmm. I would say on the short term, right? We don't need anything more than that over the next year. Mm-hmm. But if we can get one of those other games that are like set up for the masses, and because Splinterlands takes a while to get into, it would just be fun to see, like, say Soulkeep is a fun game and, you know, it gets some good marketing and it spreads like wildfire, and there's a lot of people who like playing that style of game and they don't want to think too much, and that requires SPS and they get hooked and, you know, they buy SPS like those other games that they buy on Apple, you know, and they just buy and buy. That's the kind of stuff we want. Mm-hmm. So
absolutely, man.
But for Splinterlands itself, it's just so robust, right? Like there's so many moving parts and some fine tuning, getting things polished up, just like those little changes they did to land when you go into land and you see the sparkles and stuff. That those little things is what hooks people, and makes them go back to that page and start using it more and start digging into things more. And yeah, it's the hardest thing about Splinterlands, dude, is probably all of the different options that you and I have.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So we want more cards, even though I have like all the new cards, I think pretty much complete. Then your mind goes down, oh, well, I want to complete my gold sets.
Yeah.
And then you see an alpha card that a bot dumped for cheap, and you want to pick that up, and your resources start questioning what you're going to do next.
Yeah.
But I think the key to that is having our base built with SPS, and we won't really worry about SPS because we'll have so much of it and we'll be earning so much of it that we'll be okay with burning it, right? We'll be like, I need $100 worth of DEC to go buy this and that. And I think players like you and I, we won't have a problem doing that.
Yeah. Yeah,
because we're getting it on a daily basis, right? So we're going to be diversifying it into the parts of the game that we like. We're not doing this to dump. We're doing this to, build our land out, all that stuff that it's going to entail, that it's just a dream right now, right? I know those guys are working hard, but a lot of them played World of Warcraft, and I'm sure they have that mindset of longevity and all these ideas they want to do, but they know they can't even get there without getting 1.5 out and then 2 out and then 3.
Yeah.
It's a long-term process. But SPS right now is there's a ton of it. And I think the flip point's going to happen soon where people realize there's value in SPS, and people who are in the game are going to want more SPS, just like they're doing with the staking. And that there is just, I don't know what the timer is on it, but it's a small window, right?
Yeah.
And it won't take much to push it from 2 cents to 8 cents to 10 cents. And at 10 cents, I think that'll be a start where people start looking at it. Right now, nobody cares about it. It's worthless.
Yeah. Yeah, you're 100% right. And you said about we'll get to a place where we're happy to burn our SPS to get some DC to start activating other things like more land plots or get new cards, etc. You're totally right. And that's how the interconnected nature from one element of the game benefits the other element, like card value and pack cost, etc. And as SPS, if I have one concern right now, it's that when SPS appreciates to wild new levels, there will be a creation of a crazy amount of new DEC for a variety of reasons, but just being that every dollar of SPS can create 1,000, I think it's actually 975 DEC, if I recall correctly, like roughly 1,000 SPS, $1 worth of SPS can create you 1,000 DEC roughly. And that can happen for if SPS is 2 cents, or if one SPS is 50 cents, or one SPS is $5. But if you follow the math and you say, well, I actually think it could make 50 cents or $1, then you start recognizing that one SPS could mint 1,000 DC. And I wonder where that brings us into the next, because I do think that sort of exuberance one for SPS price appreciation is possible. And I do think that it will translate into DC creation through SPS burning because of card desirability, pack desirability, liquidity pool investment, etc., etc., etc. And so then I say, will we get to a place where in the next bear market, where all the fickle people end up leaving because they come and they go, we get to a place where our shelves have been stocked again with DEC in this game, in this ecosystem, which to me isn't the end of the world, but it will be another, that's a future hurdle I see as having to get over. Do you have any comment on that?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. We have to see it, right? I lived the Luna experience, right? And that was all fine and dandy until it wasn't, right? Till it got attacked by very smart people. So with a lot of money. With this, we have to, look at vulnerabilities for sure. But I don't think it'll be a problem yet. And down the road, I don't know, because, we can vote, right? So just like right now you require, say you have 500,000 SPS staked. I don't know the exact calculation, but say you're getting a 10 or 12x, whatever league you're in.
Yep.
And, SPS goes to $1. Nobody's going to pay 500 grand to, come in and stake so they can earn more rewards. It's not going to happen. So we'll be able to adjust that, right?
Mm-hmm.
They'll be able to bring that down. So maybe same thing with the DEC. There's going to be some kind of way that they can tie that in where when SPS hits checkpoints, it's going to be complicated, but when it hits certain checkpoints, it's going to mean less DEC.
Maybe. So then there ends up a
US
value
is going to go up there too, right? So it's going to be weird. It's because they're become to a point where if DEC's, cheap to get, then the cards are obviously going to up in value, but there's going to be something that's going to get thrown off and it can break, right?
Yeah.
Definitely a concern.
Yeah.
So what did the team, did anybody ask that question recently?
Yeah, I asked it to Aggie and to Weirdbeard, and Aggie said this was the last town square, so you can go watch the town square from like 2 weeks ago.
I was on, yeah, I remember, yeah.
And Aggie said he actually thinks it's a really insightful question, and he agrees that could be a problem, but he also they've already started talking about plans for how they might create new ways that DEC is desirable in the real world. And he
hang on.
Yeah.
Hey, dude, if they burn SPS, right? Mm-hmm. I don't know what the print is. When does the print die down on SPS?
I think we're like 3.5 years. I don't know either. It's like 3 to 3.5 years left of issuance.
It's a timer thing, right? Because then what's that person going to do with all that DEC?
I guess the argument would be, like, so in the next, let's just imagine for the next 4 weeks, or let's say 4 months, or whenever the bull market truly unfolds here, you would get SPS price appreciation, because first of all, you get DEC back to peg, then you'd get SPS price appreciation, and you get flywheel mechanics and land, etc., soul keep, etc., and then you'd get this place where people need DEC because it's all been locked up in land or it's being used in liquidity pools. So now you need it for daily rentals, you need it for guild upgrades, you need it for buying cards. So then you're out of necessity, for whatever reason, a wide variety of people are burning SPS, and as SPS price is going up, you're getting even more DEC for that SPS burn. So now we're getting this huge swath of new inflowing and new created DEC. We go from, let's say we're at 4.7 billion DEC that exists today. Do we get to a place where we're double that, 9 billion DEC that exist? And theoretically, it's going to at first be totally fine because it'll be a bull market. It'll be tied up into liquidity pools. It'll be staked onto land, etc. But then in the next bear market, when land plot revenues start dropping because the SPS price starts dropping, when card interest starts dropping because people are leaving the game, there starts to get this place where, okay, now there's actually a flood of DEC from the land that was actively being farmed or from the liquidity pools back onto the market. And then what would happen in my argument, and I think from Aggie's point, is that we would have, one, new ways to spend that, and two, we would, maybe we do see DEC break peg in a bear market, and maybe it means like we just experienced where, there's an excess of it during a bear market. But I think his argument, in my view, would just be an optimism that the following bull market would be that new cycle of, we can't get enough again. And there's also always deletions, right? There's burning events, and there's, not just et cetera. So there's different things that could be created as use cases that would be not just sinks, but burn mechanisms. And so, yeah, but it's always going to be a moving target because bull market moments are short and pronounced, and they have this massive impact on our tokenomics. And then bear markets are long and drawn out, and they have this annoying kind of, everyone wants to see change. So then everyone starts being a cook in the kitchen, trying to make something new work. So it is going to be turbulent, but I think go ahead.
For sure. But the SPS part makes it all like, well, let's just see what happens, because it's not like they can swap that DEC back for SPS and, devalue SPS.
That's right. So that's what they did with Luna, right? Like that I didn't partake, but that was the big problem with Luna, wasn't it?
Well, it wasn't a big problem until big money came in and manipulated it, right? So they took a loan out on Bitcoin because Luna had a ton of Bitcoin, or Do Kwon had a ton of Bitcoin that he was using to help keep the peg, right, on UST. So what happened was this was a big community effort to down Luna. So what they did was they made sure to push Bitcoin, the price of Bitcoin down, right? And then they borrowed against UST, and then they dumped that. So it created a death spiral. And then all the users panicked, and the big investors sold, and then it was just downhill from there. It was,
Gotcha.
it was a mechanic that was broken, but it required a lot of money to break it, and they did well, and it happened. So this, I think Matt talked about it a couple of times, that it doesn't have the same design behind the scenes, which again, you can't go from DEC to SPS, so it's not going to be a problem here.
Exactly.
The problem here is going to be the ton of DEC, where we'll have to see where that goes, because that could be a problem, right? But are people going to have their cards on the market? Like, how's it going to break the game itself, other than people buying assets up? And then it's going to be weird. It's not like people can get out easy of that one. It's not like they can just swap or burn SPS for DEC, swap that DEC out to something else without it causing a problem where DEC loses value, right? So it might be okay. It's just it might be one of those things that we won't have an answer to for a while. Yeah. So let's give it 6 months. I think that's we do have to be cautious, and we have to learn from the past. So definitely, when bull markets happen, everybody should take a little bit of profit. But this is that one game that I think you and I are in for long term. So we'll take a paycheck, basically, but we're not going to dump all of our assets and say I'm out and sit on the sideline, because we know how rare these cards are and how well the community is being built, and most of us are in here for the long haul in regards to playing the game and seeing the value of the assets. So
and the key that you just said, and I'll say it again because it really needs to be hammered home. If there's people who are worried about how this SPS burn mechanic flywheel could translate to a game break of the tokenomics in Splinterlands, I don't think so. I think this is a concern in the sense that it might mean, what I imagine probably means is that we get flywheel, our DEC returns to peg, we start deleting a ton of SPS in the bull market, and then yes, we create too much DEC, and probably in the next bear market we see DEC fall below peg, as we've seen it already. But between different product backed encouragement, as we've seen, like Rift Watchers being sold for DEC, and $50,000 worth of Rift Watchers were sold like last week or whatever for Rift Watchers, and you can, the great burning was effective, and there's different things they can do that will help then remove that DEC in the same way we've already shown that we can remove the DEC when we create too much of it. And so I think there's not a conversation here around it's going to end the tokenomics or break the system, because like you said, it can go from SPS to DEC, but not DEC to SPS, and that is critical to that's critically different. That's how the other ones were really truly failed. And that it feels like the only real issue is if you were riding through a next bull market and you're sitting on a fortune in DEC, it might be prudent to be thoughtful about, if we exit the bull market, will there be the same demand for that DEC? Or if not, what would happen to your bags? If you're sitting on 100 million SPS, or sorry, I mean DEC, something crazy, some huge bag, and some people already have these bags, and you're waiting for return to peg, but recognizing that there could be, just because we return to peg doesn't mean we always stay at peg, because the staying at peg requires that there's lack of supply with adequate demand, but our supply can grow outstripping demand because of the burning mechanism. And so we always have to remember, just because we return to peg doesn't mean we'll stay at peg, and that isn't the end of the game or the end of the world, but it might mean a year or two where we have to do new strategies to get rid of the backlog of DC, and that would just be okay. That would maybe suck, 100%. But it would be okay.
Yeah, no, it's going to be fun when we cross that point, because you were around when, what was SPS, like 2.7x or something for a while?
I think
it was up there.
I think I remember 100, I think it might have been 2 cents per DC. I think it might have been 100 was $2 if I recall correctly. And it's supposed to be 1,000 is $1. And for so long, when I was first starting this game, it was 1,000 was 65 cents. So we went from 650 Splintoshis per DEC to 2,000 Splintoshis per DEC. Massive like multiplier for what's supposed to be a stable coin. Algorithmic at the time. It's no longer algorithmically inflated. But yeah, I mean, that's going to be just something I want to almost keep talking about, because I want the people who listen.
Let's do that over the next few weeks. We'll start like brainstorming and
totally
and just seeing where that can go, and like, you know, speculate the heck out of it.